All right, Raptors fans, thanks for sticking with us for our Trap Chat. This is our third segment here, and we're going to be talking about the playoffs. I mean, before we get started on that, though, let's just say that word again. Playoffs. Playoffs. Remember, we're getting all worked up about how the record is right now. We're a playoff team. And when was the last time, besides last season, you can confidently be just saying that? So we're going to talk playoffs happily because we're going to be in the playoffs.
And on top of that, we never, ever in the history of the Raptors were able to say at the beginning of a calendar year that the Raptors were comfortably in the playoffs. Like, without a doubt. Like, there's no doubt. Yeah. Even despite the fact that we're sliding like crazy right now, we're still pretty much locked into the fourth seed because we're pretty much going to win our division, and that automatically entails the fourth seed. So that's pretty much locked. But you know, even within the Trapped community, you know, within the team, and even talking to fans, and even looking at the social media, there's two schools of thought with the Raptors' playoff intentions. One school of thought, which I'm not that fond of, is trying to position yourself to have like a certain matchup in the playoffs. So maybe drop down a couple seeds to face Milwaukee, and maybe bump up a couple seeds to avoid playing Charlotte, who for some reason just match up against us, and they always seem to beat us. But I'm not really about that. Like, I don't know about your thoughts, Beezee, but for me, I know my mentality is just to win as many games as you possibly can, and just let that stuff work itself out. Okay. I mean, if you're a solid team, to be honest, like we want to see where the team is at. So as hard as it might be, I'd rather face a team that might have a chance to beat us in the first round and will beat us in the first round. Not saying will beat us, but might beat us in the first round. And at least we'll see what we have. Therefore, going into the summer, we know what we need to change. Because ultimately, it's about the long-term goal. Yes, I would love, honestly, it will be a disappointment if we do not pass the first round. There's no doubt about that. But I'd rather not pass the first round on false pretenses, thinking that we have a super team when we just have a paperweight team, which is not the case. But
which is kind of what happened to the Brooklyn Nets last season.
Yeah.
Where they passed the first round,
exactly,
thinking that they have whatever kind of team that they have, obviously get throttled by Miami, and now look at them, they can barely make it to the playoffs because, was Paul Pierce really that vital? Or, I don't know. In any case, as Masai Ujiri said last season, forget about Brooklyn.
Yeah, I think he worded it a little bit differently than that, but
family chat here, so. The way I look at it is this. I'm happy to have a playoff team, but we know what it's like to be in the first round. We know what it's like to lose in the first round. And sadly, we know what it's like to lose in Game 7, the first round, in the last shot, in the fourth quarter, by 1. So we've basically had enough every first round experience that a team should have without winning. We have had already. So I say forget the first round. We need to get to the second round. So and not to say that we should be trying to win or lose games to position ourselves, because this team right now just needs to be winning games, period. But if we can get to a point where we happen to be matched up with a team that, let's say, we have a more favorable regular season matchup or record against, or play that team better in the regular season, I would be more inclined to have that as a first round matchup, not knowing what the whole mental state of the Raptors team themselves will be when they're going in the playoffs, but at least when you get there, I know the Raptors have lost to quite a number of the teams that are in the playoff picture, but we seem to have had successes against Washington.
Yeah.
Envision us starting.
I was figuring
with that team.
Say that like Washington, because we had the 3-0 record against them this season, so we won the season series, which is true, granted, but like, what if, like, imagine this though. What if we make the playoffs, we face Washington in the first round, and for some reason, John Wall and Bradley Beal go off, like the Polish Hammer, Martin Gortat, just goes crazy.
Kind of like what they did last year.
What if they beat us? I think that would be the worst possible scenario. Like setting yourself up for this matchup, and then not even like that kind of happened last year because there's a lot of guys, a lot of people who I was talking to wanted to face Brooklyn.
Who were those people?
There were some people.
Believe
it or not, there were some people.
Everybody I knew.
And I was telling them the same thing.
The Wizards.
I was not that I was afraid to face Brooklyn, but I just had this feeling that for some reason, because Brooklyn is like that kryptonite for
exactly
in the playoffs.
That's why
they always somehow find a way, and more so Jason Kidd. And that's another reason why that whole Milwaukee thing. I'm like, nah, I don't know.
I forgot about that with Milwaukee.
But either way,
I don't know about Milwaukee either.
Yeah, either way, I'm just saying, you know what? It doesn't matter. Like, don't even think about it like that. Just win as many games as you can. And if you have to face Washington, great. If you have to face Milwaukee, fine. If you have to face Charlotte, so be it. But just you have to trust in the team. And, you have to trust in the team that they'll be able to pull it out, especially losing the way they lost last year. I think once it comes to the playoffs, the first round, like they'll have so much fire in their heart. They'll remember the pain of losing, as you said, in the last minute, the last possible shot, last second of Game 7. And I don't think that they'll let that happen again. So I think they'll win regardless of who they face in the first round.
I mean, I hope they'll win regardless of who they face in the first round. I mean, considering who their options could be, because obviously the first round is not going to be Atlanta. Definitely doesn't seem like it will be Cleveland.
Yeah.
And I mean, it doesn't seem like it would be Chicago either, because they're either probably going to be third or fourth seed, depending on how the whole Derrick Rose, Jimmy Butler thing actually starts playing out as the season winds down. So the Raptors, in all likelihood, in their first round, it will either be Washington, Milwaukee, possibly in Indiana or Charlotte.
Could even be Miami.
Or Miami, yeah, that was the other team.
Who else is there? Boston?
No.
You never know. Boston is picking it up. I'm just saying.
It's either going to be Miami, Indiana, or Charlotte, at most Brooklyn. Boston is not.
Boston's ahead of Brooklyn in stands.
Yeah, that's why I said at most.
But Boston, because I remember the trades that they.
I believe.
I'm just saying.
In Milwaukee, in Indiana and Charlotte and Miami more than I believe in Boston. So we'll see what happens. In any case, these are the teams that the Raptors potentially could be facing in the first round. Charlotte, as a team, isn't scary, but as an opponent against the Raptors, they kind of scare me. Milwaukee, you're right, with the Jason Kidd factor. I mean, he's been involved in 2 playoff series against the Raptors that he's won. So he's got that.
Where the Raptors were the
favorite.
Exactly.
Specifically, 2 playoff series where the Raptors were the 3rd seed and the Nets were the 6th seed, and Jason Kidd was running those teams, either as a player or as a coach. So anyhow, the Raptors ended up facing Milwaukee 3-6 again. I would be nervous. I mean, Kidd would just look at.
I say, bring it on. Bring it on. That's what
he's saying. Bring it on. I say, I mean, Indiana is probably a challenging matchup, especially if Paul George ends up coming back. I say Miami would still be a challenging matchup, even though Chris Bosh is out for the season. I would say Milwaukee, we said, is a challenging matchup. Washington would be a challenging matchup too. However, if you're going to be standing across from another team as the playoffs are about to start, you're doing your handshakes, you've had your intros, refs hold the ball, about to throw it up, and you're looking at those other players, and in your mind, you have memories of beating those players, of winning against that team. If your most recent memories are victories, that can be that little X factor that helps propel. That could be that little fragment of hope and confidence that gets a shot in where against another team like a Charlotte, the shot misses. You know, basketball gods are weird like that. And
but on the same vein, basketball gods, I think will remember the heart and soul that the Raptors poured in last season. Again, I'm saying, man, I think that experience of going out in the worst possible way in Game 7, also being at home as well. You keep bringing
that up as if I'm over that.
I'm just saying,
I'm not over that.
And if you're not over that, you know the players are not over that. And therefore, I'm just believing that that's going to be the difference. I mean, we already know that we're not going to be facing Atlanta, even though we match up well against Atlanta this season, but we're not going to be facing them in the first round. We're not going to be facing Cleveland. We more than likely will not be facing Chicago in the first round. So that's what I'm saying. Like, that experience, that Game 7 experience from last season, I'm pretty sure.
I keep bringing.
Hey, I have to bring it up, man. It's painful, but this is the reason why I think this is gonna propel us like into the second round, no matter who we're facing. Because like when you feel that pain, like I know everybody who's a human being on the planet Earth has endured a moment where it's so painful that like you just will not allow it to happen again. And I think that was that moment for the Raptors last year. In the playoffs, Game 7, at home too. It was at home, last second loss. And it's pretty much the same team back except for like additions of Lou Will, James Johnson.
People say that, and I believe obviously the core is essentially the same guys, but we got dynamic forces like Lou Williams and James Johnson who have the ability to determine the outcome of a game based on how they're playing. Those are two X factors that we didn't have last season. And obviously we're seeing in the regular season how that change in dynamic is impacting how the team's playing. In the playoffs, we really don't know. Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan, Valanciunas, Ross, Amir Johnson, they can all have that feeling that we're not going out like we did last season. But it's all about how those other pieces fit together, how those other pieces recognize how to take advantage of the opportunities in the playoffs and execute.
And hey man, it's such a tight-knit group that I think these guys feel. Even before the season I was reading, particularly for Lou Will, he was saying that he kind of felt it, like watching how the Raptors went out that first round, he kind of felt it. And plus the fact of him being part of the family now, him and James Johnson meshing so well with the guys that were there last year and experienced it, I think they feel it. Obviously it won't be exactly the same, but I think they feel it enough that they would step their game up that much more in the playoffs.
I hope so, because I mean, again, like you said, to build on how things ended last season would be essential, and we know that that's what basically all diehard Raptor fans and more casual Raptor fans really believe, that this season ultimately will feel like a failure if
no doubt
they don't score one more point.
two
more points than they did last season if it came down to that same scenario.
And
but at least
it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true, but I do not want to be fooled into thinking we have more than what we have. I think the longer term goal kind of outweighs that. Although I completely agree, it would be a complete disaster of a season if the Raptors did not make the second round.
Which is why I say these guys, maybe we don't want them to think that they can beat a team, have that confidence, because that could then result in them, for whatever reason, not bringing what they need to win. But me personally, I would feel a little more comfortable as a fan watching the team play if I knew that the team was matched up against a team that they knew how to beat. And even if the way it plays out throughout the course of the playoffs isn't necessarily how it was in the regular season, I mean, I just would like the Raptors to have that confidence. So we'll see where that ends up, we'll see. I mean, like we said, we know we're going to the playoffs, so we'll see what happens. Final thoughts.
Oh, my final thoughts is I want to know what you guys think. What do you guys think? Do you think that the Raptors should be jockeying for a position? You think they should just win as much as we can and, get the hand that we're dealt with? So, hit us up on Trap95. That's Twitter, that's Instagram, that's Facebook. Website, trapsince95.com. We will be posting up a blog, so, hit us up in the comments. Let us know. Let us know. Anything that we talked about right now here on Trap Chat, let us know. Chime in. So, yeah, as you were saying.
Yeah, basically, just want you to keep tabs on us. We'll keep doing these as long as you keep commenting and
supporting it regardless.
And, yeah, one last thing I gotta say. Shout out to the Trap team. You know who you are.
Yeah.
We haven't forgotten about each and every one of you guys. Last thing I'm gonna say is for fans, for better,
for worse, forever. We the North.
TS95, baby, Raptors.